All right, everybody, welcome. This is Instructor Phil Demetriadis here. So I'm doing a character design intervention because after last class, I was walking around looking at your guys' roughs, and I noticed a lot of similar problems that I want to address today. Okay, and I'm going to point those out to you right now. So there's two major problems that I noticed, and I'm going to come in here, try to rough them out. So here's something that I noticed that people are starting to do in your designs is you're drawing a head ball like this. You're throwing a center line down that head ball, which is totally fine, but then you're coming in here and you're basically doing this to your kids that you're working on, right? You're creating a space, and here's the problem with this is you're basically giving yourself this. Okay, that's almost equal distances apart. You see that? That's boring. That's not fun because it locks up part of the design of the character. Then the next thing that's happening is when you guys are coming in and placing your eyes, oops, let's go back to blue. Your eyes are sort of landing in here like this. And then you get this sort of stagnant character because the mouth goes about here, and what happens is, and no matter how cute we try to make our little grill here or whatever, right? Even if I throw on some really cool, funky looking hairstyle, the problem is that I've already sort of flattened out the face because the distance from here to here is the same. And also you'll notice the way the eyes land in. Now I have quarter portions, quarter, and then I come down this way and I have quarter and I have quarter. That's bad. That's not good. Okay, so it's a general design principle, not just related to character design. It also relates to props, drawing the human figure, and everything else. The more I can squash and stretch part of my character, the better off I'm going to be. Okay, so the other thing I noticed too is in people that are sketching, I should have gone back to that character sketch. I noticed everybody is doing this with the eyes. You're keeping your eyes like perfectly straight, like this. Okay. So by doing that, you're locking up your character as well, because what you're also doing is this. You're introducing these vertical lines into part of the character, okay? So I want you to consider other options that you can use. So try to think outside of the box, do something a little bit different. Like what if I give myself a face like this, and then I pull part of the jaw out like this, okay? So maybe I then come in here and I put a line up top. Like so. So maybe I'm going to come over here and I'm saying that, hey, maybe my character's eyes, maybe this character has like super large beady eyes and they're up like this, okay? And then she's got like this little nose, but maybe she's got this huge like smile that comes outward. Maybe her lip ends a little bit, and then she's got this sort of underbite, and then that comes down. Now, I know that made her look a little bit more like a monkey by pulling the jaw out, but that's fine because, look, it makes her look a little bit more eager, and it starts to change part of the flow of what that character could be. Do you see that? So then once I add on some of the other attributes for the hair or whatnot, my rough, this feels more inviting and more enticing to me, doesn't it, than the other example? Because look at where my proportions are. So if I come over this and I take a look at this, my eyes are up here. I have a lower jawline, so I've offset some of my proportions in there, right? It's going to be a lot more interesting for my character and my sketching if I go along this pathway. Okay, so that was just one example. What happens if I come over here and if I do the same thing going the opposite way? So maybe this time, you know, if you start with a little head ball shape, that's fine. Maybe I widen the top, you know, and maybe I come up here and then I make it a little bit wider up top like that, okay? So I flip the shape a little bit more. This time I'm going to come in here and see what happens. Maybe my character has sort of a, I don't know, maybe it's got a large nose in here. And what I'm going to do is maybe the eyes are sort of tucked up in here like this. And then the character has a little bit of a smile that's down below, maybe a little bit tinier, okay? So I get a lot more stretch, a lot more distance part of my character because I'm messing with part of the proportions. And then maybe it's, say I put on the hair shape in here, I don't know, just throwing something out. I'm going into a different direction that's allowing me a little bit more squash and stretch with the shapes, okay? All right, and I hate that character, by the way, but this isn't a character design lecture right now. This is, well, it is in terms of understanding the shape variance, okay? So maybe that wasn't the hair style for this character. Maybe she's got roughy looking hair. It's like all over. Maybe I actually come in here and I put her, maybe her smile's up high like this. And then I come down. I like that sketch a lot better, let's say. Okay, because I have more of a, she's got this rough, shaggy hair. But do you see the difference? Part of the reason why that design is starting to work is because of the proportions. So if I look at those proportions, her eyes are really high to the top of her head right there. Her eyes are about there. Then her mouth is here. And then going even down to the base of her jaw. You see the difference right there? Okay? Those proportional arrangements make the character look a little bit more inviting. Okay? So let's do another little sample here. What happens if I take a character face and what if I put more of a tilt on it? So what if I come in here and I have, I don't know, let's just say I have something like this. Okay? What if I come over here and I tilt the eyes a little bit more at a little bit of an angle like that? I have a little side tilt to them. Okay? So this might allow me, maybe this character's got a little nose, it's a little perky nose that sort of comes up here like so. Okay? Then just right there I have another direction that I could go off of, because now you see what I've done is I've put it, I have some cross angles happening in here. So I have the neck coming down at an angle like this. I can angle part of that neck coming this way. I can even angle the jaw a little bit. I can come up here, let's say the character's smiling. She's got this really big smile that's coming out. And see the nose tucks in a little bit like that. And then I do that. So, and then I could come in here and let's say for her, oops, let me add on, and I didn't talk about ears yet. I was going to get to that next. Okay. So if I add on her ears, let's say maybe she has this hairstyle that's really pronounced and sort of goes backward like this. Okay. All right. So by stretching and moving parts of my characters around, you can see again between these how that's also a little bit more inviting than the other sketches that I have, right? So this is the squash and stretch. What I'm noticing is a lot of people are skipping this, and you're doing this very stale sort of, okay, it's a round ball. You're not squashing or stretching the ball, and you're coming right in the middle, in the happy place. You put the eyes, and then you have the nose, and then everything's in true proportion. That's okay, and I know that's in the Preston Blair book and some of the other books, which is all right for getting your proportions down, but part of what we're doing that we've talked a lot about in this class is leaving that and understanding how to do this. What happens? Why can't I not have a face that exists in a squashed circle like that? I can. I can have, what if I have a girl that's very tall and lanky, and she's got like a huge curvy body that comes down like this? Okay? So I could use that shape and those curves to accentuate part of what's happening. Maybe her hairstyle, maybe she's got a couple strands of hair that come off in the front, and then the rest of her hair sort of comes back like this, and then it just drops straight down. Okay, like that. So I can approach other ideas of my design process by thinking about and adding, maybe your arms are really long too, and she just sort of blah, 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 right? Just sort of hanging down. Okay, so do you see how now I have a totally different shape system working in there? And then I could go on and I could pepper the eyes and everything. Squash and stretch. Okay, so just as a reminder, I'm just going to show you some of the reference that I put up on the blog for you. And you'll start to notice. So some designers might put the character eyes right smack in the middle, but then look at how this designer, do you see where the nose is? It's in the lower segment. So you have the upper division of the head ball is blank. It's all hair and eyebrow. Then you have the eyes, and then you come down. So that's another approach. So this designer is going to do it differently than perhaps if I look over at Carter Goodrich. Carter Goodrich is putting the eyes up higher on this character and making the mouth shape larger. Because sometimes kids that are younger, they tend to be all mouth and they talk a lot, and maybe their eyes are smaller, right? And so looking at this designer, okay, I really like this guy, by the way. I don't know who it is offhand, but really talented, beautiful designs. Look at the eye variation. A lot of them are in the middle, but then there's this huge space on the forehead. These kids have like giant foreheads, okay? That's this particular designer's thing, is to really push up that feeling of the forehead, and then he covers the forehead with a ton of hair. Okay, so I put these designers up there for you to look at to get other ideas. Okay, one thing that's cool about this artist, the first thing I noticed, is how he's sort of, look at that, I love that tilt in there. So you see that cross line is now going to an angle. So the major axes of the face is going this way, and then the minor is going down this way. So it's tilted. Look at this character right here. The major axis is going left to right, okay? And then actually it's the minor and then the major. There's a tilt on it though. My point is they're not all just vertical balls with a cross on them. You have to tilt them to the side. And if you do that, it's going to be frustrating at first. Look at this sketch right here. Look at how low the eyes are in relationship to the head ball. In fact, the eyes, the nose, and the mouth are in the lower 20% segment. So you have the whole upper area. Look at that. You could fit all of New Jersey in there, right? That's huge. That upper head ball is ginormous. So I'm not telling you have to do it exactly this way, but I put all this reference up to show you variance. Now look at this guy. He's not putting, there's not a giant forehead shape, is there here? There's not. But the eyes are really large. The eyes are the largest attribute on the face, which is very kid-like. Nose is very small, and a basic mouth. Okay? And then, of course, with kids, it's the hair that defines part of the personality. Okay? So here we see that other variant. So right there, when you're looking at reference, when I put up reference for you, which I think is, you should be happy I do that, because a lot of instructors never even do that. They don't give you the reference. I'm picking out reference for you because I'm seeing these connectors and these connections between them that are going to make you better designers. Okay? I put this up because look at all the beautiful shape variations in here. In fact, this sort of leads me to my next topic that we're going to talk about. Okay? So see this right here? Head and body. I walked around also, so we talked a little bit about the head, squashing and stretching and coming up with different variants, right? Now let's talk about the body. So here was another common thing that I saw students doing. They were coming in and they were putting in like this. They have a face and they have like an upper torso, like so. They come in and they put in a waist, and then they have a base leg, and then they have the feet down here. They have the arm, like so, okay? And then maybe the other arm. Let's just put the other arm in the same position just for time's sakes. There. So that's what I'm seeing, okay? A lot of you guys doing. What is the problem with this? Technically, from a drawing point, there is no problem with that. It's anatomically pretty much correct. The problem I have is this. This is a standard head in which you might call 5 to 6 heads high. Okay, most, if you go look at the equator and you take your finger and go around the entire equator, almost everybody, 80% of the population lives in like this 1 inch gap going north and south of the equator. Okay, so, and a lot of people tend to be the same height. Okay, so my problem with this is, look, your head height here, this measurement, if we copy that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's almost 6 heads high. This is a standard 6 head high person. It becomes boring. Why is it boring? Because it's something we see all the time. This is what comics is modeled after. Okay? This is what realism is modeled after. You studying the figures modeled after this, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. However, our job, remember, someone was asking me, what's the difference between an animation artist and like a concept artist? And one of my responses to that was, animation artists are really good at what they do because our job is to embellish. Our job is to take something, squash and stretch, and go through these basic principles of animation. Okay? So some of you are like, there are principles of animation? What are these things that I hear of? I have never heard of such things. So if you go to Google, okay, principles of animation. Okay, now this has a lot to do with animating. Okay, this doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to do all of these principles, but look at the principles: squash and stretch, anticipation. We talked about that with the flour sack, showing like the bag's about to fall over. Maybe someone looking like they're on one foot and they're spinning around, right? Okay, staging, putting counter angles and angles, showing somebody being surprised or scared. That's the staging aspect, right? Now, this is something that deals more with animating itself, straight head action and pose to pose. Okay, what about overlap? I can create a ton of overlap in a face. Okay, for example, look over here. Look at how the hair overlaps the eyes, and then the back of the hair. So then you have the body and the neck overlapping the back of the hair, creating multiple levels of overlap. I can also create overlap with outfit. I can bring the hair down and overlap part of the outfit or the pajamas or whatever the character has, right? There's tons of versions to use for that, okay? Ease in and ease out. Don't worry about that animation term. Arc, sort of an animation term. But when I think of arc, I think of this. What do you think of when I say arc? You think of the shape that goes, it's like half of a squashed ellipse, up and down, right? That's an arc. What's interesting to me about arcs is that arcs are used a lot in design to have interesting and different angles. Instead of having tons of round angles, we squash and stretch a little bit, okay? Secondary action. What is secondary action? We talked about that when we did the bags. So if the character's standing straight and the character has ponytails, the ponytails are flipping to the left or the right. Maybe the character has a backpack and she's sort of standing like in a rush pose with an arch in her back, and part of the backpack lid is, swinging off to the side. That would be your secondary. Okay, timing, don't worry about that. Exaggeration is huge. Okay, that deals a lot with us. That's the squash and stretch. Exaggerating, pulling out the nose. Not everybody has the same cute little nose. Not everybody has the same eyes. Not a lot of people have different, facial features. Some people have large ears. Some people have small ears. Some people have you got to think of all those different features you can add into a character. That's exaggerating. Okay, solid drawing. Yeah, that's the foundation that we've already talked about. And then appeal. What makes us like that personal character? So all of those elements right there are coming into this. This right here is a perfectly structured character. Okay, if you do that right now, that's basically figure drawing. That's all your proportions are the same. And then my problem is with that is then I have students that are doing this. Oops. And they do that, and then the thinking doesn't stop there, because then they come back and they go, oh, and here's my boy. Here's my younger girl. It's the same freaking thing. It's the same proportions. And then they go, okay, I'll do another one. And they go, I'll make this one skinnier, okay, but taller. It's the same proportions. Oops. Should delete it, because I feel like deleting it. Okay, so if you give me that, and it's like that, and it's a little squashed, it's still the same proportions. You haven't changed anything. Okay, that's not what I've been trying to teach you guys. So how do you break that? Okay, I'm going to go back and show that image real quick. This is how you break it, which, by the way, on this project I've been walking around, a lot of you are skipping thumbnails. You're skipping your sketching. You're going right towards this. This is why you're not succeeding. If you skip that phase, you will fail. And it's like that in all of my classes. I have one idea in my head for environment. I'm going to put it on paper. It never works like that. Okay? So what about having this? Why can't I not have a character like this, a girl that's in that shape? I can have that. I can have her, she might have this big head. She might have fluffy hair. She might have a short, squatty body. Then I could have, that rhyme, by the way, short, squatty body. What if I have a character that's super tall, like this, and she has hair coming down like this, a long neck, and then maybe she has this sort of curving waist that comes down, and then has a long dress like that. Okay? Totally different shape than the other one. All right? So what am I doing in here? I walked around and I saw somebody drawing eyes and nose and rendering a face. I'm like, no! You're killing it. There's none of that. You should be, what about this? This is how I start my sketchbook every time. Turn that into, what is that? You know what that shape says to me? That's a girl that plays hockey that doesn't like the other girls. That's what that shape is, okay? And if I have a girl that's like Miss Popular and everybody loves her, maybe she has more of a figure eight body. Maybe she has a perfect body, so she's already, she's got cool clothes. She's got these long legs. Maybe on top of that, she's got this long flowing hair that comes down like this. Her face is, she's so pretty, her face just pops out at you. So her hair is like behind part of the face, right? So I come in here, I start figuring out, she's got these long, thin, dainty arms. She's got a long, like that. There's my character for that. Then I go back to this one, and I want to have angry Broomhilda hockey girl, right? So maybe she's got hair coming out. Maybe she's got messed up, like squashy ponytails come out the side. Maybe she's truncated a little bit. She's got a broken tooth because she plays hockey, and And then I come over here, I throw the eyebrows in. Okay, and maybe she's got these rosy cheeks. She doesn't mean to be so mean. But you see where I'm going with it? I'm back to the shape. These shapes are not that right there. If you're going to draw that right there and go in those typical standard proportions, you're just drawing the human figure over and over. There's no design in that whatsoever. Okay. However, though, along the shape, there is, along the pathway of shapes. Let me see if I can pull up this this artist really quick. Okay. God, I'm even zoning out on his name. So let's say you did go realistic. So I always get that comment. I don't want to be an animation. I want to be a game designer. That's totally fine. You can be a game designer. However, though, you have to be willing to go to the other side. Let me pause real quick. I'm going to find this artist for you. All right, sorry about that. So here's the artist I wanted to show you. This is Ben Morrow, okay? Incredible guy, really, really talented. Look at that character right there. Look at that. So if you're going to go with that realism, but if I were to measure the height of that character, how head tall is that character right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's about 8 or 9 heads high. The proportions are squashed. And look at the sensibility in there. He understands silhouette. So if you're one of my realistic game kids, that's totally fine. Okay, but you have to be able to do this. You have to be able to look at a design and be able to look at this. That guy reminds me of like a young Jabba the Hutt, right? He's short, he's squatty, he's in the shape of like the squashed out pear. That makes sense, right? So again, I don't care if you're in realism. Realism is just detail, okay? What I'm showing you right now is baking the cake and the size of the cake. It is the foam layers before you put the detail on. Look at that body right there. Okay, look at the shape. Look at how it comes in here. It curves down here. Then it has a human body. But even the arms are somewhat long. The neck is long. Even the legs are somewhat long. It has a wide midsection. That works, doesn't it? It's a good design because he's combining. Again, if I were to strip off all the paint and all the detail that you're looking at, there's an overall visual shape and read to part of that character that makes sense. Okay, so, and then you look at all this other stuff Ben does. He's totally amazing. Look at that. You can look at that character there. You can look at that character and that character. And what is the one unifying factor that you're noticing in all those characters? They're all different shapes. They're totally different. So if you're drawing and designing, and I look over at your page, and you're just doing this all the time, and then I don't see your reference out, and you're like looking at your phone, go for the prize behind door number 2, right? It's not working. You got to go on a different pathway. Okay, so far, I mean, I just roughed these in a matter of minutes, but the thing that's happening here, if I go over these a little bit darker, what's happening here, folks, is the shape. Okay, this is squatty, angry hockey girl. This is I'm sort of confused and I don't have a lot of friends girl. This is I'm Miss Popular and I have flowing, beautiful hair and everybody wishes they were me. Okay, how about just throw something out? How about super excited ADHD girl with like long legs, right? So maybe I have that. She has a skirt up. She's like here. She's got this long neck, and then she's got this face that's like super excited, and her hair comes down like this and overlaps. There's that shape for the next character. Back to simple prime shapes. Every one of my shapes right now is totally different, aren't they? From each other. You have to be doing this. So if you're not doing this and you're getting caught into circle heaven, okay, or typical shapes, it's going to be that much harder for you to succeed. So I had to quickly do this demo, put it up really quick for you. Think about shapes. You guys have seen me draw the turtle demos and all those things. The only difference is in the back of my mind, I've been doing that long enough where I'm always telling myself shape, 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 okay? And just on a side note, I'm finishing this other demo that I'm about to put up. So let me quickly show you what that demo is, because the reason I want to show you this is I just want to explain to you that the difference between this and environment design and digital painting, it's totally minimal, okay? What do I do with the folder? Saving files, Amazon project. Let me just open up the artwork here. Where is the artwork? There it is, assignment 3, okay? So when I'm designing an environment, it doesn't matter if the characters or environments to me, it's all the same principle, okay? Uh-oh, it opened it in Photoshop, but let me just go to this one sketch that I finished earlier today. So you see that sketch? My goal is to have different shapes. I have rounded shapes that are different for the leaves. I have different shapes for the large winding tree trunks that are going down into the Amazon River. Okay, I have different tree shapes in here. I have different leaf shapes. So the only thing is it's a little bit more complicated. In environment design, I'm having to do the same thing where I take my shapes of leaves. What kind of leaf shapes? I have pointy leaves. I have big fat rounded leaves. I have squashed leaves. They're all a different shape pattern. Now there's multiple versions of them, right? Then I have a large curving tree limb, and then I have rock shapes, and then I have mountain shapes in the background. Those are all just different shapes. That's what I'm thinking about when I'm drawing. Everything is relative and comes back down to what? Shape, language. That's right. All of it. So I don't care if you're doing realism or not doing realism. It all comes back to all this basics. It's right here on the paper. So when I come around and I see you sketching these realistic people, I'm just like, and then someone will come back and they literally will take this head only on their sketch and they go, oh, okay, Phil, I'm going to do what you said. And they're going to, oops. They take that and they go, okay, oops, hold on. I hate it when it does it. Am I on the wrong layer? I am. So they take this and then this is what annoys me. I come around as your instructor. I tell you something to work, something to fix, right? And then you come along and you go, okay, I took that head and I made it larger now. It looks worse, right? Or they go, okay, I took it and now I'm going to take it and I'm going to squash it. It still looks worse because you can't like make a cake and misspell someone's name and then go back and erase the name and fix it. It still looks like crap, right? You have to go back and start over. All of design is one flowing motion with considerations in the whole design. It's the head, it's the head connection to the neck to the body, the hair supporting both the neck and the head, it's the hands interacting, it's the gesture that displays part of the character's personality, it's the arrangement of the feet, and so on. Okay, last part of character intervention that I had to mention for today is this. I noticed a lot of you guys are taking your feet and you're doing this with your feet. You bring it down and you put the feet sideways. Okay, you can do that for a certain amount of time. You can, and you can get away with it. The problem is nobody really stands like that. It becomes a bad habit. People, if you just stand up and look at your feet, most of our feet sort of land. And you have a foot going out this way a little bit, and you have another foot that's about that angle. Okay? That's going to give you a better feel, a better proportionment. That's how we stand. That's how our weight is. So if you take all your feet and all your characters and do that, it's going to start to look goofy after a little bit. And if you get confused on that, it's really this simple. Here's a foot. This is how you draw a human foot, no matter what. You just come in here. The foot slopes down. So you basically draw a trapezoid. It's a cube with a higher angle on one side. It goes like that. It goes to there. That's your foot. So you just learn to draw that foot for multiple views. I come up here. I draw it going this way. Boom, it's at a different view. I start to turn that view a little bit more. Okay, I'm just doing this super rough right now. Right? I come down. There's that view again. Okay? If I turn it all the way to its side, okay, I might have that as a side view, and then I might have just a little bit of a perspective view, like that. There. Okay? So I'm just rotating that shape. Inside that shape, look at what it is. The foot comes down to toes. You have your toes in there. You have part of your ankle. You have padding on your feet. You have a little bit of an arch, and then it comes up and it connects. That's all the foot is. It's not a good looking foot, by the way, but you understand the point. Okay? So, because I'm having people that are drawing these really weird looking goofy feet that don't make any sense. Okay? So another thing to feet, because this is going to lead us as a segue into one of our next projects, is if you do this, it'll help you a little bit, especially if you have a character that's posing, that's doing something. When you sketch your characters like this, throw a little bit of a horizon line in and do this. And just pick a point, doesn't have to all go to that point, throw a light grid on there. Gee, why would I do that? Why? Because this adds perspective. And it gives you the feeling that if I have this character sitting here and she has a foot, sorry, I didn't continue the grid over. You'll see the grid here. There, and the grid's like that. I can have a foot coming this way on the grid because it's anchored down, and maybe her other leg comes this way and it goes back this way, and then her foot's like this. Do you see that? So do you see how I figure that out? By having the grid on there, the grid allows me to see and understand placement. That I have a foot here, it anchors, it goes this way. I have a foot here, and it's directing going this way, and it's behind there. That makes sense in part of my posing. So if you're getting a little bit more action-packed and you have a character that's, let's say she's a cheerleader and she's jumping up and landing, that's how you draw the feet landing on the ground. You need to think about and consider that there is this dedicated grid that is existing because there is a grid that exists, and it's not Phil's Matrix world. It's how you draw and anchor things down to a ground plane. It's a basic principle on anchoring things. So if you do that, that's going to help you anchor your character, okay? All right, so I'm going to let you draw for the rest of today. I wanted to rush this out because I noticed those three things as I was walking around looking at all your projects. And remember, your rough is due up on the crit wall, okay, for next Tuesday. And I'm sorry, our printers are still down. We just bought $6,000. We just spent $6,000 and bought 2 new HP color printers that will kick butt. We'll be buying another 2 more in about another week. So just you might have to go out and print your work done. Someone's going to ask me, what size do I print my work? Yeah, 5 characters. Throw them all up on one sheet of 11 by 17. It's the easiest way to view it, right? Okay. I wouldn't bring in 5 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper with each single character on top of it. So today, if you don't know how to copy and paste and arrange your characters on a lineup, you need to do that. Why do we want a lineup? Because of this. We're going to have height comparison. If I have 5 characters that are all the same height, there's a problem. If I have 5 characters and their eyes are all in the same place, there's a problem. If they all have the same hair structure, there's a problem. That's why. Variation, folks. It's the most wonderful part of life. Being able to have a ham sandwich for lunch and have sushi for evening. It's the wonderful part of life. It's the best part of drawing as well. Variation and simplicity, right? Have variations in your objects. All right, take care. Thanks, guys.